And welcome back. My final guest for today is Legislator Lon Hofstein from Legislative District 5 in New City. Welcome, Lon.
Welcome to me, welcome to the folks at Clarkstown, and thank you for having me, George.
Delighted to have you on the program, and you're in your second year in the legislature?
Second year, yes.
So maybe for the benefit of our viewers, you could speak a little bit about your background and what brought you into politics.
Well, I served as the Little League president for 12 years in New City, and then I served on the Clarkstown Parks and Rec Commission for several years. And when Ed Day was elected to the office of Rockland County Executive, there were 2 years remaining in his term. The Democratic Party are in the majority, and they selected a candidate to fill in for 1 year. And the way it works is the remaining term, there has to be a special election. At that time, Ed Day reached out to me, asked me if I would consider running. I was flattered. I thought about it a while. Matter of fact, you were one of the people I actually spoke to about this. And I decided to actually run for office. And here I am today.
You know, you have some great public experience and volunteer experience. I know that you've been very involved, not just with the Little League, but also with Arc of Rockland. And it's great, actually, on this program, one of our earlier guests was Carmine Marchionda, the executive director of Arc of Rockland. But maybe you could speak a little bit about your volunteer service with Arc of Rockland as well.
Well, New City Little League every year would hold a tournament of the All-Stars throughout the Rockland area. And it was a great opportunity for children to be able to participate in an additional series of games. The proceeds would be donated to Arc of Rockland. And it was an opportunity for us in New City Little League to try to bring the message home to the children that we should be grateful for what we have, and we should always try to help others. And at the annual Taste of Rockland, New City Little League would make a presentation of a check donating to their cause. It's a very worthy cause. And it was an opportunity for us to, one, provide the children with a series of games so they could play during the summer, and two, give them an opportunity to understand about giving back to the community and what it's all about.
Right. And I know that your service at New City Little League has been very, very important to you. It's something that you've really strived, and took to heart. And you had an exceptional tenure there as the Little League president. And congratulations and thank you for your service to our community in that regard.
Being with the children was truly a pleasure. And as much as you feel you're giving to the children, there's so much you can learn from them. Mm-hmm. If you take the time to listen, it's really a very enlightening experience, and it's a bonding experience. I have children that I coached. One actually was selected by the Los Angeles Dodgers, and his father called me the night before the Major League draft. Mm. And that leaves an impact on you. Children that come up to you now that are 30 years old and having children, and they still give you a hug and thank you. It's heartwarming.
That's great. That's great to hear. Let's talk a little bit about your professional career. You have a background in finance and business management, and you've brought a really valuable, I think, perspective to the Rockland County Legislature, not just in your perspective as a legislator and with your background in finance, but you also now currently serve as the minority leader. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your business background, what you do.
Yes, I have my own accounting practice together. It's been about 25 years in existence. And what I try to provide for smaller businesses is more of a consulting. My position is there are a number of small businesses that can't afford to have a number of professionals working on their staff. So I try to give them a little bit of guidance, not only in doing their tax preparation, but asset-based financing, human resource skills, negotiating contracts. And I try to use that experience and bring it to the legislature when issues come before us, and try to add, it's not a matter of just, we all want to help the people, but we have to understand the financial aspects of that. And I try to bring that to the legislature when I ask questions about contracts that come before us, discussions about where capital projects would be going, and there's more to it. It's just not a matter of saying yes or no and what's in the best interest of the people. The best interest of the people are it's multifaceted. It's not just putting a project up. The question is, what is the implication? What is the financial burden that will be borne by the people to do this?
So let's segue into the budget and some of the issues that you've been working on here in the county legislature. So you represent District 5, which is New City, a little portion of Pomona primarily. And so let's talk a little bit about the current budget that was just passed. As we're taping this program, which will be airing, in about 4 weeks. The budget was passed last week as of the taping of this show, and there was a series of vetoes that the legislature voted on that didn't sustain, and so the budget's passed. Maybe you could speak a little bit about the budget.
Budget was presented to us by County Executive Day, and the legislature meets for approximately 2 months to go over that budget. At the conclusion, the legislators have an opportunity to propose amendments. The majority met with us this Saturday before the legislative session. They had a list of proposals. Members of the minority met with them. We once again met with them on Tuesday to discuss a negotiation. And what happens is you bring it to the floor. Clearly, because we're in the minority, we were outvoted. The amended budget passed and was presented to the county executive. He proceeded to veto it. Last night we met, and it required 12 votes in order to override the county executive's veto. 11 votes were secured. Therefore, the vetoes that the county exec put in place stand, and his proposed budget will be what will be in place for 2017.
Right. And so essentially, it will be pretty much a flat tax based on the cuts. I know I'd worked closely with the county exec as a member of the sewer district. There's a 4% tax cut in the Rockland County Sewer District, but overall, their county budget, there's a slight increase, but it's underneath the tax cap.
That's correct.
And,
so net effect to many of the residents of Rockland will be zero.
Right. Especially the residents of Clarkstown are all
Correct.
members of.
In Sewer District number
Right.
1.
And that coupled with the tax cut that we've delivered here for the first time in over 30 years in Clarkstown, people actually see their taxes go down for the first time in 30 years, which is great news. But let's talk a little bit about the Sane building. There's been a lot of discussion about this. What's the status of the Sane building at this point, and where do you see this going?
Well, it's a sad state of affairs, and I've been on the record stating that I feel personalities have gotten in the way between the legislature, certain members of the legislature, and the administration, that being the county exec's office. We have a building here in Clarkstown. The county exec had put out an RFP, a request for proposal. One entity had made a bid, and it wound up being in excess of what the county exec projected. Yet there were members of the legislature that felt uncomfortable with the procedure, insisted that we go through an RFB, a request for bid, and we proceeded to go through that process. That delayed the process even longer. At the end result, there was one bidder. It was the same entity that bid on through the RFP. Now, for reasons unbeknownst to me, the bidder decided to make some changes, and therefore his bid was considered not valid. Then it went back to the legislature. They were talking about preparing, getting a permit through the Clarkstown, talking about getting a site plan. And I guess here's where the financial background comes in. And I asked the question, well, it's very nice to say, how much would a site plan potentially cost us? And, well, we have to hire an engineer. That can cost up to $100,000. I said, up to $100,000. I said, so when we take this into account and the additional delay, and we go through another RFB, which is going to cost the taxpayers money to do that, and we present this, your you want to gamble with the taxpayers' money that will potentially will get a higher bid, although we've had two RFP, only one bidder, same exact amount of money. You seem to think that if we go with a site plan that could potentially cost us up to $100,000, that we'll even get a higher bid. So we're going to gamble with the taxpayers' money and hope that the bid is higher. And what happens if it's not? Who's going to explain to the taxpayers that we're sitting with the same bidder, the same bid, and now we're $100,000 less?
Right. Yeah. So it's basically right now in limbo, or?
It is in limbo. Unfortunately, this, as I said, has become a personal situation, in my opinion. And interestingly enough, the majority in their amended budget, they proposed the sale of the Seine building. Seeing as we found this out on Saturday, the legislature met that Tuesday, we did not have an opportunity to bring it to committee. I thought it was an opportune time, once it passed, to bring it up under new business to consider the property surplus. You must consider the property surplus before you sell it. I brought it up as a resolution, and the chairman said that, in his opinion, he has a liberal viewpoint of what urgency is. He didn't think this was urgent. My position is he felt strongly enough to put it in the budget to prepare to send on to the county exec. Why wouldn't it be urgent that you see that the legislature is behind it and that we're considering the property surplus?
Well, let's hope. I mean, by all accounts, the same building is a building that's had a long and checkered history. It was built initially in New City to be like a nightclub hotel type building. It never really took off, or actually it was an office component, but it never really took off. They had a swimming pool in the basement, which is kind of useless space. Issues upstairs, windows that can't open and close. Really, I think the ultimate plan is that they're going to move out. We very much in Clarkston would like to see this sold by the county and put back on the tax rolls. It would start to bring in tax revenue to the Clarkstown School District, to the town of Clarkstown, to the Ambulance Corps District, as well as the Fire District.
And money to the county of Rockland.
And money to the county of Rockland. And so it's critically important to get this back on the rolls, and it seems like there's universal agreement within the legislature and with the county exec, and hopefully the legislature can move forward with this. I think it's key that it has to be declared surplus, and anybody in government knows that in order for something to be sold. So hopefully we can move forward with that. We only have a couple of minutes left, but I do want to touch on a couple of other issues that I know that you've been working on. In particular, very quickly, the old gas station on Old Route 304 that had the property had been contaminated. I know I had worked with you, with the county executive's office, and there's some real success there. So maybe you could update our viewers as to what's taken place with that site.
So when I was elected to my initial term of office, I live in the area where Old 304 gas station by Christie, used to be Christie Airport, as I recall. This was a real eyesore. Old 304 is a main route. People would constantly go back and forth. It wasn't fenced properly. It was questions about what was going on, contamination in the soil. The residents were up in arms. I made it a point that in my first term that I wanted to address it. I met with the owner on 2 separate occasions, found that there was not getting all the answers that we needed. We asked him to be upfront and candid with us, and I just didn't feel comfortable with the responses I was getting. I reached out to people in the county. We reached out to DEC and New York State DEC. And the good news is it's going to be a success story for the county and for the town. The DEC has gotten involved, has cleaned it up, found there were 3 tanks there that they took out. Over 1,000 tons of soil were removed. And later on in 2017, there will be a meeting to see what's going to be done with the property. And the residents are very happy. And so it's once for the good guys. And it's heartwarming because you get into public life because you want to help people. And that's what it's all about. And here's an opportunity where you were able to see something that was wrong, and you were part of making it right for the people. And it really, truly is heartwarming, and that's what being a public servant is all about.
Mm-hmm. Well, and want to thank you for your leadership and your efforts in that regard, working closely with my office and certainly with the county executive's office. You know, it is property that eventually will be sold, and we would imagine, and it's been reclaimed. And so an environmental hazard has been mitigated right here in the heart of New City, and it's been a property that's been vacant probably 10 years or more. It's been an eyesore and a blight on that neighborhood, and now we can look forward to a cleaned up property that eventually can potentially be sold or repurposed in some way that won't be a negative effect on that neighborhood. We have literally a minute left, so let's very quickly just touch on, you have two other initiatives that you've been working on closely, one with my office, another one through the legislature, Lake Lucille. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that, and then the pharmacy take back.
Okay. Well, Lake Lucille, the people happened to look at my Facebook page, and my campaign slogan was "The Voice You Need." And when they saw the work that we've done on 0304, someone reached out and said, "We need you to be our voice." And I smiled when I saw that, and I met with the folks in Lake Lucille, and they made mention of the problems they were having with the dam, and I reached out to you. And I am, as well as the people of Clarkstown, are very fortunate. We have a very good relationship. You were very receptive, and right away we had people from the town of Clarkstown out there to work on the dam. And the emails that I was receiving, once again, another heartwarming situation. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And it's not the pat on the back that you're looking for. You're grateful to see that you could make a difference. Mm-hmm. And I think through networking and developing a good relationship with the local government, which I take pride in I'm trying to do, we were able to work together and get this done and mm-hmm. take care of the needs of the people. And once again, it's heartwarming to see that you can make a difference. People say it's impossible, but it's not. It is very possible if you work towards it and compromise and work on relationships.
Right. And let's go into just the final initiative, the pharmacy take-back initiative that you're working on. Maybe
yes, this is,
in brief, you could tell our viewers what it is and what's the status.
The concern is that we live in very difficult times, and pharmaceutical drugs are available to children very easily. And for years, people would take prescription drugs, they'd leave them in their medicine cabinet, or they would take the pills and they would empty them in the toilet. Now we're aware of the fact that when you empty pills into the toilet, it can have a harmful effect on the environment. The other problem is that we have been called to our attention that children are getting involved in games called Skittles, where children would take pills from the parents' medicine cabinet, go to one friend's house, they would pour the pills into a big bowl, and everyone would take one. And no one knowing what the pills were for, people would be taking medication for heart, cholesterol, prostate, high blood pressure. There's all kinds of medicine out there for cancer. This is a very, very dangerous situation. And my concern is that if we don't address this issue, by having the pharmacy take back, it would require that pharmacies that have 2 or more pharmacies in Rockland County, we're not trying to hurt the mom or pop, that they are required to take back the medication and dispose of it. Right now, the resolution that I'm working on, we are trying to get the manufacturer to absorb the entire cost. Mm-hmm. But it will make life extremely convenient because there are people that are on medication, will be going to the pharmacy on a regular basis. How convenient is it for them to just be able to go back to that pharmacy, give them the unused medication? There are people who are going either on higher doses or lower doses or no longer need the medication, as opposed to throwing it into the garbage can or tossing it down the toilet, worrying about the children taking it out and getting involved in these dangerous games. They just go back to their pharmacy. Now, I'm aware of the fact that the Sheriff's Department and the station up in Pomona provides facilities to take back medication. But we must remember that there are many, many citizens that don't have the availability to drive a car up to those locations. And there are some people, for whatever reason, do not want to go to a law enforcement agency. It's not mine to question why.
Mm-hmm.
What we're trying to do is preserve the environment and protect our children and provide a very easy access to our citizens to dispose of harmful drugs.
Well, we wish you much success with that new initiative and its practical common sense approach, which frankly is what I think you brought to the legislature from your background. I want to thank you for your efforts here in the town of Clarkstown. I think that government works best when people work together, and you've certainly been a partner in working with my administration and the prior administration as it relates to representing the people of District 5 and representing them well. So thank you for being my guest, today and providing such comprehensive information on some of the things that you've been working on.
George, I thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to working further with you in 2017, you and your staff.
Thanks.